write this down pat. Okay. Okay, so we're looking at P24-21A again, and it says, consider the following condensed financial statements of Safe Money Inc. The company's target rate of return is 10%. So we got a balance sheet, and we got an income statement. So we got the comparative balance sheet and the income statement, and the first one they want to ask about is rate of return. So we're going to take operating income and divide by average total assets, right? And remember, we're averaging the assets because we want to make this balance sheet, which dates the information at specific points in time. We want to make that balance sheet more comparable to the income statement figure that covers a time frame. Okay. So we'll take the total assets and add them together for each year. So 584.9, that's $1 million. And then we divide the combination of the 584,000 and the 416,000, which is $1 million. We divide that by 2 to get the average of 500,000. And then our operating income is 100. So it makes it real easy. 100,000 divided by 500,000 is 1/5 or 20%. Okay. Now let's see, what do they ask for next? They ask us to compute the profit margin ratio. Okay. So again, we're going to take our operating income and we're going to divide by our net sales. So in this case, our net sales is going to be this sales revenue figure of 1 million. And our operating income is 100,000. Oops. So we got a profit margin ratio of 10%. I think we have easier numbers this time. Okay. The profit margin ratio tells us that they earn 10 cents of operating income for every dollar of net sales. All right. Then it says begin by, calculate the company's asset turnover ratio, interpret your results. So with the asset turnover, we're going to take net sales and divide by average total assets. Okay, so we have a couple of those figures already. We have the net sales of 1 million. And we have the average total assets of 500,000. Okay? So if you take 1 million and divide by 500,000, you're going to have, right, 1.5 times, right, asset turnover ratio. So let's see what they want us to write it in. 150%. They don't want it in percentage, right? They want it in a decimal. Let's see. I'm sorry, you got 2, right? 2 times, right? Did you get that? We'll just for the
1,500,000.
That's 2. Make sure we got the right numbers we're putting in. Let's see. Net sales 1 million. Average total assets 500,000. Okay. So it's 2 times. So your assets turn over 2 times. Okay. The company's asset turnover ratio explains how efficiently a company uses its assets, average total assets, to generate sales, right? Generate net sales. The company is generating $2 of net sales with every $1 of average total assets. Okay. Okay, now here we are, the expanded. I'm going to spend some time on this. The expanded return on investment formula. Okay, so let's look at this closer, right? So our profit margin ratio is operating income divided by net sales. We'll make it look like a fraction here. This is going to be our take just a bit to set it up. This is going to be the profit margin ratio. Okay, and then if you look at the asset turnover ratio, okay, it's net sales divided by average total assets. Okay, this would be our asset turnover. Okay, so the expanded formula, right, the expanded ROI formula would be to take your profit margin ratio and multiply it by your asset turnover ratio. Okay, why does that work out? Well, if we take these two, right, and if we're going to multiply them together, but we're going to multiply, use actually the factors that go into it. Right, notice that you have net sales, okay, so that cancels out, right? You see how the numerator and denominators cancel out? So you end up with operating income divided by average total assets. That's why you can multiply these two and come up with that same answer, because once you reduce this down, let me put this here. Once we reduce this down, right, we're going to end up with operating income divided by average total assets. Okay, which, right, because we're canceling these guys out, so let's see. Right, these two guys get canceled out. Okay, which is the original. So this guy here, right, this is the original formula from step one, right? This ends up being the original formula, this guy here. Okay, but this is the proof. This is how we can prove it, right? Because you got those two formulas. So really all you have to do is take your profit margin ratio and multiply it by your asset turnover ratio. And we got that over here. Let's see how this works out. Right, you got your let's see, your profit margin is 10% and your asset turnover ratio is 2. So you can take your profit margin ratio times your asset turnover ratio. Okay, so that's going to be 10% times 2. This 10% times 2 is going to give you 20%. Okay, and notice that 20% there agrees to the original return on investment 20% that we came up with, based on this proof thing I walked you through. Okay, and then what does it say here? It says, to determine what is driving a company's return on investment, management often restates the return on investment equation in its expanded form. Okay, that way you can zoom down on what actually is driving that figure, right? Yeah. It's looking at it in more detail. Okay, the return on investment calculated with the expanded formula agrees to the ROI calculated in requirement 1, and we just showed how it does. Okay, now they want me to figure out residual income. So you're going to take your actual operating income, which is 100,000 from the income statement. Okay, so operating income, and you're going to subtract, see how this is in parentheses, what your target was. Okay, and the way you determine your target is you're going to take 10% times your average total assets. Okay, so that's your target rate of return times your average total assets. Okay, so if I took 10%, well, don't forget, we're going to have to use 100,000 over here as operating income, and then let's see what my average total assets, I already figured it out, was 500,000, and 10% of 500,000 is 50,000. Okay, take my target rate, 10% times 500,000, I get 50,000. So return on investment or residual income, 100,000 minus 50,000 is 50,000. Okay. So we have income beyond our target, operating income beyond our target. So our company here, Safe Money Inc., is exceeding management's target rate of return.